Chelsea get the game underway at lowly Leicester City. Second in the standings, the Blues at the moment. There's every chance that Arsenal overtake them before the season's end because of their games in hand. All they can do in pursuit of Champions League football is win their matches, and a point is enough today to secure top 3 at least. Top 2, remember, is automatic qualification for the league phase. Ball in the hands of Niamh Charles, who's only recently back from an ankle problem, and it goes all the way back to Olivia Peng. It speaks of Chelsea's depth, really, that they have the Swiss #1 goalkeeper on the bench.
Yeah, they've got so much strength and depth. You know, they've made 5 changes today, and yet it's still full of a lot of quality. An opportunity for 1 or 2 players who haven't had as many games or minutes as they would like. Someone young like Lexi Potter in the midfield, who's done a great job in recent weeks when she's been given an opportunity as well. And as you said, Niamh Charles had a really tough season. There was once upon a time she was one of the first names on the team sheet for Chelsea, and she's had to endure a really tough spell. So it's great to see players like that on the pitch, but hasn't diluted the quality at all in the Chelsea ranks.
Followed all the way out by Lucy Bronze, who starts at centre-back again today. Sonia Bampasta, who replaced Emma Hayes. Chelsea bought her out of her Lyon contract back in the summer of 2024. And success has followed, although they will not retain their league title for the first time in 7 seasons this season. Buchanan, the Canadian who has been out for so long for Chelsea. Is there a chance for some of these Chelsea players to play their way into that FA Cup semi-final team for next week against Manchester City, Helen?
I think there is, yeah, if somebody has a standout performance.
Well, they might be in here, Chelsea already, and the cutback works out, and he's thumped over the top by Niamh Charles, who's looking for her first goal of the season.
Yeah, you can see by the smile on her face, just got a little bit carried away with the moment. Lovely touch from Erin Cuthbert to send it through to Ritin Canarid, who pulls it back. And Niamh Charles' eyes light up, but just gets too much on it. But yeah, going back to the point about the FA Cup, I think, you know, if there's a couple of standout performances, and certainly that will put themselves in the eye of Sonia Bonpastor, but I think also maybe some context will be put into play. How do the opposition look? Is it one of those where you'd expect players to play well in these sorts of games? And, you know, she's rested players for a reason, with the eye of, you know, the idea of probably trying to get them back in the team. So it's a difficult one for a player. You just want to do your best and, you know, take any opportunities you get, and who knows what happens between now and then. They may well get their chance.
Rick Passmore likewise is trying to find that team that he'll take to Charlton at the end of the month. Extraordinary drama in the Barclays WSL 2 yesterday. Chelsea, oh, they might be in already. Laid off by Captain Cuthbert, trying to get onto that loose ball, and in fact she's committed a foul. The player wearing the captain's armband for Chelsea at the moment.
Yeah, she's a leader in there for them. Erin Cuthbert, so many years of fantastic service from her. You know what you're going to get. Always an 8 or a 9 out of 10. Quality in both directions, both in an attacking sense and the ability to defend and organise her team around her. Really, really great player for Chelsea. And just in these opening few minutes, you can see they look like they want to target that right-hand side, get Ritin Canarid and her pace on the ball as much as possible. And then, of course, feed Sam Kerr in the middle when they get the opportunity.
Retrieved by Bronze. 4-1 winners against Everton last week. Chelsea at Goodison Park. Sam Kerr got 2. She should have had 3. There was a goal not given that did appear to go over the goal line. She would have had Frank Kirby's league record already completely broken. Carpenter and Cuthbert, the other scorers on Merseyside that day. Comes after the FA Cup win over Spurs, the Champions League exit to Arsenal, and that thrilling 4-3 victory at Kings Meadow against Aston Villa. Potter Oh, it's a super pass into Canarid. Blocked, and Thibault trying to get away. Julie Thibault did relatively well.
Yeah, initially had a bit of a wild swing at the ball, but got enough height on it that allowed her the time to go and head it clear. But it looks like already it could be quite a long afternoon for that Leicester back line. Although the goalkeeper hasn't been tested yet, I'm sure she's on her toes and ready for what could potentially be coming.
Moved on by Buchanan to Charles. James. Kerr to the action for the first time, but that's well dealt with by Sam Tierney in the Leicester midfield, the captain. You can hear Rick Passmore's booming voice from the Leicester technical area.
You can. So much experience, Rick Passmore. This season hasn't gone how he would have wanted it to, but always there, always trying to get the best out of his players, encouraging them, giving them tactical information, whatever it takes to try and get his team organised and hold Chelsea at bay. But it has been a really difficult season for him and his whole staff and squad. And like you said, he'd want to be getting them prepared. You know, this isn't about the result necessarily today, but maybe the performance to take some sort of momentum into what's going to be a really tricky test at Charlton in a few weeks.
Katie Keane frustrated with herself for the quality of that pass. Passmore's called her an old school kind of character in terms of a goalkeeper. Great person to have around the dressing room as well, a throwback in his words. She made 9 saves in the second half against Arsenal midweek. Got the occasion to come on for your league debut against the defending European champions.
And then to face Chelsea in the very next game.
Exactly. Yeah, some start.
Welcome to senior football.
Here's Bronze. And Carpenter. Captain. Canarid hangs it up. Oh, it looks like that kissed the outside of the crossbar, and Leicester hurried away. Charles keeps it alive. James, nimble feet. James blasts it past 3 teammates. Carpenter, who loves to get forward from right back, she did to score the other week, thumps that into Thibault.
Yeah, I thought she was just going to take one touch and have a drive at goal, but she decides to go down the outside. But again, it's Ritten Canarid. She's got pace to burn. Almost accidentally scores, and then it's quickly recycled by Chelsea. Ends up with a corner. They're really starting to pile on the pressure already.
They looked vulnerable from crosses last week against London City, and it's in by Cuthbert. Finds Charles. James bends a ball in, and it was guided towards goal. Held by Keane, who registers her first meaningful save.
Yeah, that was well held, to be honest. It wasn't, you know, the most difficult of saves, but with players coming to close you down and pick up any rebounds, she did well just to hold on to that, you know, amongst a few bodies in front of her. Lauren Jane's been afforded a bit too much time on the edge of the box just to swing it in nonchalantly with her outside of her her right foot, sorry. This is the sort of game she'll just want to get on the ball and dominate it and almost play with Leicester at times.
Captain, oh, lovely turn. It was too easy, in fact, the way she got through, but that's smartly worked out by Surrey Case, the Belgian international. Bit of a gamble by Chantal Swaby, who's into the team today. Jamaican international. There are a number of senior international players through this Leicester side, despite their struggles in the league this season. No foul by Bronze. Cuthbert gets ahead to it. Lovely start by Canarid, but she's lost out this time. Where have things gone wrong for Leicester, in your view, Helen?
I think the fact that they've only scored 10 goals this season is a big worry. You know, if you're not scoring goals, it's going to put an awful lot of pressure on your defensive responsibilities, your back line, your goalkeepers, and they just haven't been able to cope with that. You can't go through a season scoring that few goals. You know, Shannon O'Brien scoring nearly half of them. She must feel like she's sort of done her bit, but she needs a little bit of help. And I think that's been the biggest worry and concern for them. They just haven't been able to score. And, you know, going into that playoff, essentially that's what you're going to need to do. It's not about preserving a point. You have to go and win the game. And to do that, you need to score goals. So I think that will be the biggest worry for Rick Passmore, particularly with Charlton. You know, they've got a good defensive record in WSL2 this season as well, so it's not going to be a case of rolling them over just because they're in the league below at the moment. Goal scoring is a difficult art, and they've really struggled with it this season.
Said he wants his team to do the basics better this afternoon against Chelsea. 4 down at half-time at Arsenal in the week.
Yeah, it's tough because they're all decent enough players, you know. They all have the ability to do those basics really, really well. That's why they're in the BWSL. You know, there's a reason that they've been signed in the first place. And as you said, there's plenty of senior international players in there. But for whatever reason, it just hasn't clicked, whether that's to do with how they're set up, whether that's individuals just not taking opportunities, individual mistakes, whatever it might be. There just doesn't seem to have been that sense of cohesion, that way of playing that suits their personnel, if you like, and that has led to, you know, a real sort of problem in front of goal. And as I said, once you don't score goals, you're adding a lot of pressure, and it's up to players to have really good, strong defensive performances, and that's something they also haven't really managed to do.
The defence is about to be tested again. Carpenter to Canarid. She had better options, maybe perhaps if she'd gone to the near post rather than back post. Retrieved by Captine. Charles. Oh, she has managed to bluster her way through here. Charles, that's a great ball, and steered in by Sam Kerr. Chelsea history maker. The outright top scorer in the Barclays WSL ever. Her 64th at this level. Some leap, and she gives Chelsea the lead.
That is absolutely brilliant from Sam Kerr. But again, Niamh Charles, she does really well, but it's too easy. Absolutely breezes past Van Egmond and Mailing like they're not there, and then just dinks a wonderful little cross into the middle. You do that when Sam Kerr's in your team. And okay, she's not the tallest on the pitch, but my goodness, can she leap. And that is a fantastic header. Gives the young goalkeeper absolutely no chance. It nestles into the inside of the goal. Brilliant header, but again, all too easy for Leicester to be bypassed there. But Sam Kerr, credit to her, an absolutely phenomenal goal scorer. And as you said, 64 for her in the competition. Is she going to go on and break that all-time record? I wouldn't bet against it.
Yes, so she's now 2 behind Fran Kirby's all-competition record.
Well, when you're only 13, 14 minutes into the game,
yes,
and Leicester are sort of opening up like that, she will be absolutely chomping at the bit to get those couple of goals.
She doesn't look the tallest, Helen, but she leapt up above everybody there.
Yeah, she's a brilliant athlete, Sam Kerr. You know, as you said, she's not the tallest, but she's got such strength in those legs. And also, it's not just about the height she gets, it's the timing. And that's something that's not easy to do, is to know exactly when you need to be at your highest point to get on the end of a cross. And she does it time and time again. It was a brilliant little ball from Niamh Charles, but the athleticism she showed and the timing is what makes that goal from Sam Kerr.
Here's James trying to move through. Retrieved to Cuthbert. On by Buchanan. Cuthbert shuffles it in. Kerr turns. Cuthbert gets a shot away. Good save by Keane. Kerr's onto the follow-up. Oh, and it was messy and it goes behind. Well, she scored with just her third touch of the game, and Sam Kerr looking more involved again.
Yeah, and for me, that's what a goal scorer is about. That's what a good centre-forward does. They don't have to be involved in all the build-up in the middle of the pitch. You don't have to keep coming short. If you're in and around the box and you're ready to get onto loose balls, through balls, crosses, whatever it might be, you're going to be in the right place to score goals. She does that better than most, and she really looks like she wants to get, you know, on the score sheet time and time again this afternoon.
They scored their first attempt on target, Chelsea, and now they're applying further pressure. In by James. The worry for Leicester is that they're kind of cutting through, playing in, what, second gear here, Chelsea, at the moment. Buchanan. Carpenter has been really busy down that side, and it's well held by Keane.
Yeah, again, good hands from the young goalkeeper. But Chelsea, they're breezing past players like they're not there. You know, Leicester are already shaped up in a back five. There's not much more they can do. You're not going to go to a 6 or a 7 at the back, although at times it may well look like that. But if your players aren't tracking runners, or they're not willing to put their foot in there and make a tackle, it's going to make life really difficult for yourselves. They look like their body language, it looks like it's going to be a struggle for them. Rick Passmore's going to have to do something to try and bring that energy up, because they can't just coast to the end of the season now. They've got another big game to save their season, which, you know, you would argue perhaps they're really lucky to have that chance. However, they do have it, and it's up to them to try and bring themselves out of this rut that they're in.
He certainly seems to be trying to take the positive from it. He says, how I see it is we've got another bite of the cherry, despite the struggles they've had in the league.
Yeah.
Says if we come through that, we stay up, we reset and can rest ahead of next season.
You're absolutely right, and in theory they could have lost every single game this season, but if they win that one, yeah, that's all that matters, which is a crazy thought, but that's what it is. We knew that from the start, and that's the position we find ourselves in. Of course, they haven't lost every game, but they haven't won too many either, and it's going to be difficult to bring yourself up for that one big game with no momentum.
Carpenter cuts it back. Cannerid, oh, it should be 2, and Kaptein has headed it over the top for Chelsea.
Again, it's that right-hand side for Chelsea, causing all sorts of problems. Kaptein knows she should have done better. Lovely little pass through by Lauren James. She's having a field day. Carpenter and Rettin Cannerid linking up well. And Kaptein all on her own in the middle of the 6-yard box. You put your money on her finding the back of the net there. Comes at her quite quickly, in fairness, but probably tried to do too much. Almost just needed to let it hit her forehead, and it would have had a really good chance of going in.
Is that ever your coaching advice to a young striker, Helen? Just let it hit your forehead.
Look,
it doesn't sound like UEFA Pro licence.
It doesn't, to be honest, but sometimes it doesn't need to be. Sometimes the game, in my opinion, is a little bit overthought and overcomplicated. If you're in the middle of the goal, it doesn't matter where it comes off. Don't try and be too clever. You know, just get something in the way of it, and 9 times out of 10 it'll go in the goal.
You got another chance here, Chelsea, from the corner. Having to be really busy down that side as always. Hannah Kane doing so much defensive work, playing on the right side of Leicester's midfield.
Yeah, I feel for her, because, you know, when she's playing internationally for Wales, obviously I watch a lot of those games. She's at the other end causing all sorts of problems on a massive goal-scoring run, but just hasn't worked this season for Leicester.
Cuthbert's delivery is just about met by O'Brien, who was back doing her defensive duties, retrieved by Kaptein, and that corner means that Chelsea will get to go again. Bronze. James. It's a good challenge. And O'Brien has won it and is trying to scamper forward for Leicester, but well shut down by Buchanan. And she scored their goal against London City last week by pressing them high up the pitch, forced a mistake, and then it was a super finish on their top scorer.
Yeah, I like O'Brien. I do feel for her. She gets through a lot of work, you know, and she has managed to score 4 goals in a difficult season. She always looks a threat when she's on the pitch, but, you know, in that example there, she had to wait quite a long time to get any sort of support. Leicester are so deep, Took a little bit of time for Hannah Kane to manage to come out of the defensive shape and try and get forward, and by that point crowded out by Chelsea players who weren't going to make it easy for her.
Cuthbert has it. Let's have a look at how things have kind of unfolded so far, and it's no surprise it's been utter domination from Chelsea. Only 3/4 of the ball, and starting to rack up the shot count after Kerr's header. James. Carpenter. Cannerid, Carpenter, she's done really well here. Options waiting. Just kind of blasts it into the gloves of Keane in the end.
Yeah, she's having a field day, you know, galloping down the right as she does from fullback. Carpenter, and she looked like she was in two minds there, almost wanted to set up her compatriot for her next goal, Sam Kerr, but just delayed ever so slightly. It made the angle a bit tight and then ends up playing it a little bit too high in the end and allowing Katie Keane to make the block.
Cuthbert's corner. Buchanan was arriving, well headed away, and it's O'Brien again for Leicester defensively. Potter. Cross is a good one. Buchanan, oh, it's gone the other way. That's a better attempt from Lauren James. The Chelsea's players playing with a smile on their face out there at the moment.
Yeah, they are, and sometimes, you know, it can be difficult in games like this when you're completely dominating the ball, you know, and you try and do things that maybe you wouldn't do ordinarily. Just seeing a replay there of Sam Kerr, that leap is absolutely sensational. As soon as she's made contact with the ball, you just know it's going in the back of the net. But what is important for Chelsea to do is make sure that they're doing the basics right. It sounds silly to say, you know, not trying to force it, not trying to do things that you wouldn't normally. Perhaps Buchanan trying to volley it from the outside the box is not something she'd normally attempt. In the end, it ended up being quite a nice pass to Lauren James. But yeah, they don't want to get silly about it. They want to be relentless, and we're seeing that from the likes of Carpenter and Ritten Cannerid on the right-hand side. They've seeked, you know, they've sensed that there's a weakness there, that there's a spot that they can keep attacking, and they keep doing it, and that will end up in chances for Chelsea.
Well, Arsenal did their goal difference some real good in the week with those 7 goals, getting them up to 33 plus. Chelsea on 22 plus. And you never know come the season's end if goal difference could have an impact.
Well, you remember the season, it was last season or a couple of years ago, where Chelsea were not favourites to win, and all of a sudden a 9-0 victory over Bristol City essentially won them the title. So goal difference does come into play in a season where there's not, you know, too many games. Of course, that's expanding next year, but with only 22 games, goal difference is so important at times. And you know, every result, every point, and every goal can become so important at the end of the season.
Swaby with a foul. So Chelsea with a chance to swing this into the Leicester penalty area. Can they get defensively set here? Tom Pressman, the goalkeeper coach, is out for Leicester as well to try and help them set up right. Hung in by James, big punch from Katie Keane. I'm sure the goalkeeper coach would have appreciated. Cannerid, bit of a flat delivery. Up goes Potter. James, well, it looked a good ball, but again, well read by Keane. Forward by Sarah Mayling, who's on loan from Aston Villa since the January transfer window. They did actually make 5 signings in the window, Leicester, 4 of them permanent. Bringing in the likes of Janssen, Neville, Williams and Lehmann, who's on the bench. Mayling, the only loan signing. It hasn't really invigorated them. Carpenter, Cuthbert. Hangs one in. It's away by Van Egmond. Kennerid again allowed to cross the ball, and Mailing does the pragmatic thing, the sensible thing.
Yeah, she did well in the end. For half a second there, it looked like she might end up popping that in the back of her own net, but was much more aware of her surroundings and just sends it to safety. But it is a bit like the Alamo. Katie Keane doing a fantastic job, really, considering her age and lack of experience at this level. She's been brave, she's come out to claim things, punch things.
In by Cuthbert. It's a huge punch from Keane. Player who's actually already been around the Republic of Ireland senior squad. High hopes for her, and it was more commanding work between the posts. Set by Niamh Charles. A week when it was announced, Helen, that Millie Bright was retiring from the club game, having already retired from international football previously. A Chelsea legend departs the stage. And Chelsea on the attack here. We'll get back to her shortly. Kennerid, Carpenter, Cuthbert. It's wearing the armband at the moment for Chelsea. James! That is a special curling effort. Katie Keane, demanding a defender, should have got closer. But sometimes the quality of Lauren James is simply undeniable. How many times a season does she do that?
Again, it's almost nonchalant from her. Good work from Erin Cuthbert, and to be fair, Van Egmond tries to get out. Okay, she doesn't put too much pressure, or doesn't look too convincing with it, but great feat by Lauren James, and then just one little half a step, and she just bends it in like it's, you know, the easiest thing in the world. It is Lauren James's world, and we're just living in it. You know, she's just playing with us. A little turn there, a little bit of a footwork, and then just bends it in the corner like it's a completely normal thing to do. And poor Katie Keane in the goal. She's right, you've got to go and close it down, but as you said, sometimes you just have to sit back and admire it, and that finish was out of the top drawer.
Her fourth league goal of the season, 6 all competitions. She's only played 13 times due to the injury she had at the start of the campaign, but no surprise at Chelsea's 2 goal-getters today. Kennerid trying to apply the pressure. Cuthbert does. It's hung into the middle and just beyond everyone in white.
Does make you wonder, doesn't it? Had Sam Kerr and Lauren James been fully fit for the whole season, would we perhaps be going down to the last day, or would they have even won it already, Chelsea? They're such important players at that end of the pitch, and you know, in a season that's been quite difficult at times for Sonia Ban-Postor and her team. You wonder what might have been.
Well, Katie Keane is down at the moment for Leicester.
It's quite an unconvincing little point to the ankle there. I suggest that it's possibly a tactical decision, but I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she did take a knock on the ankle.
Well, let's have a look back at the goals that we've seen so far in the opening half an hour. 13 minutes on the clock when Sam Kerr leapt highest.
Yeah, fantastic little chip from Niamh Charles, and Sam Kerr doing what Sam Kerr does, getting on the end of it. And then Lauren James again, absolutely toying with the Leicester players. Lovely feet, and then just whips it into that far corner like it's absolutely nothing. And you know, 4 players in fact, Erin Cuthbert setting up Lauren James, and Niamh Charles setting up Sam Kerr. 4 players who have got so much history and success with Chelsea, that core group of players that have led them to so many wonderful moments. they're the ones involved in the goals, and I think that says a lot that, you know, the changes that Chelsea have seen in recent years, you still need that quality that you can rely on, that know the club and they know how to win. And it's no surprise to me that the four of them have come up trumps so far.
These are the live league standings. So Chelsea moving to within 6 points of Manchester City. Of course, they can't catch them because there's just one game to go for those teams. And then Arsenal have that run of matches that they have to play, having been in Champions League action. A lot of midweek fixtures before the season's end for them on the 16th of May.
Yeah, and Arsenal at the moment look like they're favourites to pick up that second spot. They've been in good form in the BWSL recently. However, having that number of games in a short period of time where Chelsea have just got game break, you know, they've got a week in between, that'll do them the world of good. And winning games like this puts that pressure on Arsenal not to slip up at any point.
Kerr, smart layoff. James pings it. Cannerid running at those Leicester defenders for more than half an hour. Oh, is that a challenge in the penalty area? Oh, it looks like the flag maybe has gone up. Cuthbert's gone down. Yeah, there's the flag.
That's an interesting one there, because I think that is a... Oof, she's taken an absolute wallop. So he's given offside to Sam Kerr, which is probably correct, but surely the free kick or the foul comes first. So therefore it's got to be a free kick to Chelsea, because she's been absolutely booted in the knee, regardless of Sam Kerr's involvement.
I think this is what he's checking. That's a brilliant spot, Helen. Yeah, that's exactly what's happened. And in fairness to the referee, he just got clarification, didn't he, as to what was the offside offence. So yeah, free kick Chelsea. Yeah,
100%. The foul comes before the offside, because if Sam Kerr doesn't touch it, it's still a foul. That's happened before Sam Kerr's got involved. So yeah, look, the linesman, assistant referee's right to put his flag up, but the referee's done the right thing there and just checking who are you flagging offside. If it's not Erin Cuthbert, then it's a free kick.
Katie Keane has demanded a 5-player wall in front of her. James stands over the ball for Chelsea, having already swept one in from this kind of area. James hooks it. Oh, it's an absolute beauty! Even better than her first, you could argue. Absolutely no hope for Keane in goal. James has scored again. In off of the crossbar, and delight for that travelling support. Her second of the match.
Just another fantastic Lauren James strike to add to her portfolio. Again, makes it, just strolls up to the ball and just does what she wants with it, and that's kissed the top of the crossbar, the bottom of the crossbar, I should say, and into the goal. Katie Keane's got no chance. The wall have got no chance. There might as well have been nobody else on the pitch at that point, because she did exactly what she wanted to do with the ball and pops it in the top corner. Fantastic once again from Lauren James.
Playing like she's in slippers out there at the minute. Lauren James, just absolutely effortless.
It is. She's one of those players that just controls the tempo of the ball, of the game, and she makes it exactly how she wants it to be. And when she's in that sort of mood, there is very little as an opposition that you can do about it.
Carpenter, she's really been forced back here. It's great play from Leicester. O'Brien, good hustle. She's demanding more of that from her teammates.
Yeah, she's really trying to lead from the front. Shannon O'Brien, one of the bright sparks in what's been a tough season. You know, 3-0 down after 35 minutes, and she still wants to press, wants to harry, wants to get the best out of her teammates. And see, she's cuts a frustrated figure, and it's a difficult job up there in a team that's not providing you with much service. Sometimes you have to go out and do it on your own, and that's what she's trying to do.
No surprise, one of the busiest parts of the pitch have been around the Leicester penalty area. It's been utterly dominant from Chelsea. The pressure from Swaby to force Chelsea back again. Cuthbert forward, Cannerid, wonderful football again. Cuthbert takes over, Kerr makes her move, held up by Swaby. Worked 1-2 with Potter for Cannerid. And she's still going. James is there, as is Charles! Oh, and it eventually pops into the torso of the grateful Keane.
Yeah, just didn't quite catch it right. Niamh Charles there, again, brilliant from Ritten Cannerid on the right-hand side. Cross evades everyone. It's a good touch from Charles, and she hits it well, to be fair, but Keys gets across for the block, and it looked like it may have bounced up off of a hand from Sarah Mayling, but no complaints from Chelsea. And they get going once again.
Well, he knew his team was in for a tough test, not only because of the calibre of Chelsea, but pointed to the fact, Rick Passmore, they've had 3 games in the space of a week. The travel involved, they were down in London for the London City game and for the Arsenal game over the past 7-8 days. Buchanan's pass is too loose, found by Mayling. And Egmont on, O'Brien, Kane. A cross is looping onto the top of the Chelsea goal.
And that's the sort of thing Leicester need to go their way, just to swing a little bit of momentum and a little bit of confidence in their direction. It's obviously not meant as a shot, but comes a bit closer to Olivia Peng's goal than perhaps anticipated originally. Almost sums up Leicester's season going forward.
Leicester have technically now hit the crossbar. But they've only scored 10 times this season, making them the lowest scorers in the Barclays WSL. And coming into this, they conceded 12 in their last 2 league games, the 5 to London City, prior to the 7 at Arsenal. Charles will keep this in play too. James bends it, and Kerr and Cannerid were both around the back.
Yeah, I think Sam Kerr had just gone over so slightly early. Flag goes up. But again, Lauren James getting on the ball, finding those spaces, being afforded too much time just to clip it into an area.
Just boxed out again, Leicester. Dropped back by Potter, Carpenter, and Captine. Worked across the men's and women's game with West Ham's assistant manager as well, Rick Passmore. Someone highly respected across the women's game.
Yeah, be interested to see what happens at the end of this season, regardless of the division that Leicester City find themselves in. Do they stick or twist? He is a great manager. He's got a great pedigree in the game, as you said, but this season hasn't been what they wanted.
Charles's cross, forgive me, Helen, because Chelsea, every time we try and get into something, Chelsea are up to something. Buchanan. Charles. Captain will see that go behind for a goal kick, in fact. Excellent support up from West London for Chelsea once again. And since mid-February, these supporters have seen their side pick up more points than any other team in the Barclays WSL. 6 games, 5 wins, 1 draw. Again, we covered together where they were a bit flat, admittedly, in the second half. That 1-1 at London City. Match played at the Den, in fact.
Yes, they have been much better in the latter part of the season than they were earlier on. As you said, that game at the Den, I think London City came out really strongly in the second half and deservedly got a point from that game. Chelsea weren't quite at it in the same way that they were in the first half. But they since then, you know, seem to have found a little bit of a groove, scoring plenty of goals. 8 in their last 2, I believe, and then another 3 this afternoon already. It looked like they found a bit of rhythm that was missing in the earlier parts of the season, and whether that's down to the fact that they had so many players playing deep into the Euros, I'm not sure, but they're certainly flying again now.
Canary couldn't quite work her way through. Leicester have a free kick to relieve the pressure as it's coming up to half-time. Well, there is no international tournament this summer, Helen, so is finishing 3rd as detrimental as it might have been, say, this season for Manchester United off the back of the Euros in terms of the schedule?
Yeah, I mean, it's always difficult in a tournament summer, particularly for teams at the top end of...
Oh, it's some mistake, and it's gifted to O'Brien, who adds to her tally for the campaign for Leicester. She seems to always take her chances. Something for the Foxes faithful to celebrate here. Shannon O'Brien with her 5th league goal of the season, but what happened with Chelsea? Yeah,
really uncharacteristic from Lucy Bronze, just doesn't see O'Brien over her shoulder. And to be fair to Shannon O'Brien, she deserves that. She's worked really hard. She hasn't had much service at all, but you saw in the tackle she put in on Ellie Carpenter not too long ago. She really wants to work hard and do well for her team, and you know, to have scored 5 out of the 11 goals your team scored in the league is credit to her. She finishes it well. Peng perhaps maybe feels she could have done better. Wasn't the most strong of finishes from O'Brien, but it was accurate and it was enough to get past the goalkeeper and get her side on the score sheet.
Here's Buchanan trying to glide away with it. You just had faith in O'Brien to take that opportunity as well suddenly as she was one-on-one. She took her goal so well last week at London City, and maybe in that playoff she could be their hero this season.
Yeah, she could certainly be the difference. As you said, you felt as soon as she was in that position that it was going to be a goal. You know, read the back pass really well. It's a sign of an intelligent player. She was ready on the front foot and then made the right decision in taking the shot on early. And yeah, for her, it's a fantastic moment. I'm not sure it's going to massively affect the outcome of this game, but as you said, if she can go into that game with a bit of confidence and in goal-scoring form, who knows what can happen in that playoff.
Buchanan into James, dropping deep, trying to link. You were keen to stress to me, Helen, before we got going, that Charlton also not going into that playoff in the best of places, having ended up 3rd. They started their top yesterday of WSL 2.
Yeah, and they've had a fantastic season, and it's just sort of slowly petered out a little bit in recent weeks. You know, in injury time of last week's game, they were winning, and had they held on to that result, they'd have been up. They didn't manage to do that, and then yesterday, of course, the big one against Birmingham, weren't able to halt their progress. And as you said, they've ended up 3rd, and they've probably got a little bit out of form just at the wrong time of the season. So it's 2 teams really facing each other who haven't got a lot of momentum behind them. Leicester have got the opportunity to build a little of that potentially between now and then. Charlton have obviously got a long gap now to wait, which is difficult for them to navigate. I don't expect there's going to be many opportunities to play any friendlies or anything in that time.
Canner it in behind here for Chelsea. Good ball into Kerr. Keane holds, and again another chance right on half-time.
Yeah, Canner it again. She's been such a threat on that right-hand side with her pace and her delivery. It's the right idea, just probably puts it a little bit too high. Maybe won it on the floor there for Sam Kerr, but again, Katie Keane, brave, coming out to smother the ball and get it securely in her hands in the end.
The fourth official has indicated a minimum of 3 minutes added time to be played.
3 added minutes to play at the King Power Stadium. Half that Chelsea have dominated, bar one notable lapse. And there's another. Oh, and the shot from near the halfway line was a good idea, and it just swerved away for Hannah Kane.
Yeah, worth a go, and again, it's Chelsea. We spoke earlier how, you know, you can get into some bad habits when the game feels a bit too easy, and Captain does that. Hannah Kane spots Livia paying off of her line, but just doesn't quite get the accuracy she needed. The height was good, just needed less of a drag on it. Another half chance for Leicester.
When you actually saw Peng's starting position, that was on, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely the right choice from Hannah Kane. Intercepted the ball well initially and knew exactly where the goalkeeper was, but just couldn't quite have the quality to execute it.
So an encouraging end to the half for Leicester, forcing Chelsea into some errors. Lauren James trying to do likewise down at the other end, and she forced Zoe Case into a panicked charge back, the Belgian international.
Yeah, I wonder there if maybe Katie Keane could have come out and swept up, but perhaps wasn't expecting the ball to come into her area, and Sarah Keys had to try and tidy up. Become a little bit more of a contest in the last 5 minutes or so, though.
It's a deep delivery, but there's a slip from Sam Kerr. Seemed to be in the kind of right place to meet it. So, Helen, your thoughts on the opening half we've seen here at King Power Stadium?
Yeah, I'm not surprised by what we've seen. I think, you know, having seen Leicester play in midweek against Arsenal, you could tell the confidence is really lacking at the moment. Having to change the goalkeeper as well, who, in fairness to her, she's done pretty well in the opening half. But yeah, the domination from Chelsea is what we expected. Lauren James really enjoying herself, and Sam Kerr breaking that league record for Chelsea is no surprise, really. The only big surprise, I suppose, is seeing Lucy Bronze so careless at the back and gifting Shannon O'Brien a goal. But yeah, otherwise it's almost business as usual for Chelsea, and it's about how many do they want to win by at this point.
Chelsea ahead, unsurprisingly, at half-time, thanks to some super goals. A record-breaking one for Sam Kerr, Chelsea's top scorer in Barclays WSL football ever now after her early header, and then two beauties. Curling efforts from outside the area from Lauren James, 2-0 and 3-0. O'Brien pulled one back after the ball was given away, and Kane nearly scored from the halfway line. But at the break, it's Leicester 1, Chelsea 3.
Self-centred in terms of wanting to score all the goals herself. So yeah, it's a couple of changes that Chelsea can afford to make.
3-1 up, so James on her 2 will not get the match ball. Sam Kerr really has only had one chance, a real chance from memory. Might well be hoping for it.
Yeah, she obviously took her goal very well. Had half a chance when it ricocheted about a bit, but other than that, they've kept her relatively quiet, which is strange to say with the dominance that Chelsea have shown in that first half.
Swaby lining up the throw, the defender who's into the team today, second season at the club. Actually came off with an injury against London City Lionesses, but was used as a substitute at Arsenal. She's launched that well in towards O'Brien. Gets onto the second ball herself, down by Buchanan. Oh, and it's steered towards goal, and Leicester have got a corner. Good work from T-Ball with the effort.
Yeah, they've come out all guns blazing by the looks of it. Rick Passmore must have got into them. He probably would have been quite pleased with how they finished the first half, and doing well there to put Chelsea under pressure and somehow managed to scramble a corner from it. A decent start from Leicester.
Still lost effects. Do you want me to calm, Rob? So Leicester City's corner. And it's a deep one too. Potter got there. It's moved on by Charles, but she was put under pressure by Mailing, who just hooks it back in. And Leicester get another corner. This is really good stuff for the Foxes.
Yeah, they've squeezed up high, putting Chelsea under pressure. Mailing finding herself really high up on the pitch on the right-hand side, and does well to not only win the ball but keep it in, and puts in a dangerous cross and ends in another corner on Leicester City's left-hand side.
So now standing over this is Sam Tierney, the captain. In by Tierney. Oh, and it's well met. And Leicester City, once again, through Julia Thibault, are threatening.
They are, but again, it probably sums up their season that they've had a couple of half chances in the 2.5 minutes since kick-off of the second half, and they've not made one of them count.
Shifted back by Carpenter. It was really lively in the opening, 20-25 minutes, especially for Chelsea.
I'll be interested to know the difference in the two dressing rooms during that half-time break, because at the moment it looks like Chelsea went in and put their feet up, whereas Leicester have maybe had a bit of a talking to and a bit of a rallying cry of, you know, we got back into the game in the end of that half, let's try and press on.
Luskin, first touches for the German midfielder since coming on. She's been amongst the goals of late. It's a good driving run that will result in a Chelsea throw-in. Set back for Carpenter. To work it back to her, although the slip presents Carpenter with it, and I think the referee is concerned about the injury here and has stopped play. Well, he must have seen something that was really concerning to stop Chelsea in their tracks.
Yeah, I don't know if she's caught her face on the ground as she slipped. Yeah, her head does hit the floor quite hard, and the referee's done the right thing. At first I was thinking you can't pull the play back for a slip, but her head has clattered into the turf there, and the referee's made the right call in pausing the game, because that could have been quite nasty.
Yeah, excellent spot from the official. Chelsea will get the ball back when the game is back underway. So just the check over here. Well, it has been a difficult season for these Leicester City supporters. They have enjoyed a couple of wins in the Barclays WSL, but there hasn't been a victory for this team since mid-December. And look, against Chelsea it's always going to be difficult, but I think they knew the magnitude of their task, given how quickly Chelsea started.
Yeah, definitely. They would never have expected anything less from a side with the quality that Chelsea possesses. And I think they'll be disappointed with the manner of a couple of the goals, at least in terms of the lack of intensity when it comes to the press and putting challenges in, you know, both on Niamh Charles and then for the second goal against Lauren James. All too easy for those players to get themselves into positions to cross and shoot. But they did rally, they did finish the half a little bit stronger, and they've started this one okay, and they'll be hoping that Shannon O'Brien's able to come back on the pitch, because she's been a real focal point for them, not just today but in the season as a whole.
Nice to see her smiling too, perhaps even mildly embarrassed about the way that slip went. But Chelsea presented the ball back where they had it, and Lucy Bronze is not messing around with the delivery into the area. Given back to Chelsea. Nuskin dispossessed. Bronze. Feels like Leicester are playing with a bit more aggression.
It does indeed, and you know that's what they need to do. They need to, almost like they showed too much respect to Chelsea in the first half. You know, sitting off them, too scared to go and make a tackle and potentially be made a fool of. But they've upped that in the second half, and I think that's down to the manager giving them a bit of belief in what they're doing and trusting them to go and press higher up the pitch.
Launched forward by Keane. O'Brien tries to flick it on by Lexi Potter. Good movement down the line. Trying to work that back across. She has Mailing for support and nearly got the pass right.
Yeah, it's good support from Mailing coming on the underlap inside Hannah Kane, who had done well in her movement out on the right. Initial cross was blocked and then just tried to slide it, but put too much on it. You can see her frustration at herself afterwards. But look, the difference. Two players inside the Chelsea penalty area trying to get a press, making it more difficult for Chelsea to get out.
Out for a Leicester City throw-in. Leicester being told to take that from the place where it did go out, in the hands of Smita Ale, the former Spurs player. Speaking of former Spurs players in the Leicester squad, we understand Ash Neville is imminent for the Blues. Blues of Leicester, I should say, by the way. Under the studs of Tierney, and Chelsea are moving with purpose. Charles. Still going here. Baltimore on at half-time. He's got the pace and the drive. And well dealt with by Leicester, who we understand are set to make a triple change.
First real action we've seen from Sandy Baltimore on the left. I think it's a good thing that Lauren James goes off, and then you're faced with French international.
So the change. Giselle off for Neville, who joined in the winter window from Spurs after being there almost a decade. A change up front as O'Brien is replaced by Alicia Lehman, another one of the winter recruits. And Hannah Kane applauds the stands as she comes off for Naomi Luchon. So two changes in attack for Leicester.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised at the withdrawal of Shannon O'Brien in particular, and Hannah Kane, to be fair. Though she hasn't had her goal, I think the pair of them have been, you know, part of everything positive for Leicester.
Baltimore twisting and turning. And it will be a Chelsea corner. They're important players to the Leicester manager right now, aren't they? Off the back of a busy week with the 3 games, I wonder if that comes into the thinking too.
Yeah, perhaps, and you know, they're players that have played a lot of football for Leicester. Maybe need a rest.
Potter. Baltimore. Amy does really well and protected it well as well. Sharp work from the Swiss international, who's just into the action. recruited from Syria side Como, and dealing with Baltimore there.
Yeah, when you come on as a substitute and thrown into the action against someone as dynamic and pacey as Baltimore's not easy, but she did well. One's a free kick for her team. It's not an area of the pitch that Alicia Lehmann will be overly familiar with, back in her own penalty area, but doing the job for the team.
Sean just trying to apply some pressure. Capped by France at under 23 level. And she has scored a couple of goals this season, the last of them coming in November against Arsenal. Just gives that to Buchanan. Chelsea can only move it as far as Thibault. Lehmann is offside. No surprise that Chelsea have outpassed their opposition quite significantly today. Carpenter collects a pass and moves, and she's away from Neville. Goal side here, still going. Baltimore can't reach it. Captine tries to retrieve. Not looking as incisive in the second half, Chelsea. Captine. It's a well-weighted ball. Cannerid, and thumped over the top by Baltimore.
Yeah, that was better from Chelsea, just about starting to find a bit of rhythm, similar to what we saw in the first half. Don't think it was an intended pass by Ritin Cannerid there, but the touch falls to Sonny Baltimore, who you would put money on hitting the target from there with that left foot, but just leans back a bit, can't get over the ball and sends it safely into the stand from a Leicester point of view.
Some players coming on. Philip Berman imminent for Chelsea, and St Aggie Beaver-Jones could be coming on along with Elisa Thompson. So Chelsea moving quickly to get through all 5 of their subs.
Yeah, and you don't blame Bonpastor for that. Probably wants to get some minutes into players, see what kind of shape they're all in ahead of a big cup weekend. And a chance to make it 2 trophies in a season that ultimately has been a little bit disappointing for them.
I wonder if they'll also partly be encouraged by the fact Manchester City are not exactly firing at the moment. Really had to edge their way past Liverpool today, beaten by Brighton the other week in the Barclays WSL.
Yeah, they haven't had it all their own way in recent weeks, that's for sure. You know, we thought the title was wrapped up, done and dusted a long time ago, but they've stuttered a little bit. I think they're missing Viv Miedemar, to be quite honest with you. I think her link up with the likes of Bunny Shaw has been so key to them, and they've missed that recently, and that's shown. But yeah, I think Chelsea will sense an opportunity. They've already beaten them in 1 cup competition this season, and they want to go and do that again.
Michon nearly worked her way through there after an excellent challenge by Ashley Neville. Baltimore. Loose behind Nushkin.
You can hear the difference in the words coming out of Rick Passmore's mouth. It's all go on, press, get up, get higher, encouraging his team to just step up that little bit more than they were doing in the first half, and it's paying off. They're winning the ball higher up the pitch, they're forcing errors, and they're keeping Chelsea at bay so far.
So Niamh Charles is coming off for Philip Berman. Made the opening goal with that wonderful cross. She's doing so well this season. The Dutch international centre-back. Sam Kerr has come off to a huge cheer, and Cannerid is withdrawn as well for Thompson, who is technically the team's top scorer in the league on 7 goals. So a triple change that sees Aggie Beaver-Jones back from injury as well here, Helen, up front.
Yeah, it's not a bad trio to bring onto the pitch, is it? I think Sam Kerr will maybe feel a little bit disappointed after such a flying start that she hasn't had more opportunities to add to her total. But Aggie Beaver-Jones needs some game time, you know, really suffered with injuries of late. So it'll be good for her to get a run out. And Alyssa Thompson, I think she's been a real bright spark in this team for Chelsea this season. A really good signing coming over from America. She's fitted in like she's been here forever. So small and lightweight, but absolutely rapid, and knows where the back of the net is. She's been an excellent signing.
Carpenter gets onto that, and well held by Keane. But say, look, the 3 goals were all excellent finishes. She's had a really good game so far for Leicester.
Yeah, she has. She's not really put a foot wrong, to be quite honest with you, the young goalkeeper. She looks confident, she looks vocal. And as a defender, that's what you want. You want someone behind you that you feel you can trust, that is going to back themselves. She's come and punched things, she's caught things, and she's made a couple of really good saves. So, yeah, credit to her. It's never going to be easy. As we said, first introduction into senior football is against Arsenal and Chelsea. It doesn't get much more difficult than that, but she's held her own. She's done OK.
Here come Leicester again. Mouchon, the pass was just too short into her. And Thompson looks to skip forward. Lehmann. Turn and tries to play forward as is being encouraged to do so by her manager. I suppose this is what Rick Passmore is looking for, evidence he can show his players in the lead up to that Charlton game. You can do what I want. We can press teams, even really good teams like Chelsea.
Absolutely, yeah. He'll want that aggression, that front foot approach, you know, not just sit back and wait to be attacked. Because we've spoken about it many times, when you're not scoring goals, the longer you just sit back and accept pressure, the harder it becomes to keep the ball out of the back of your net. Whereas this second half, they've been much more front foot, much more aggressive, not giving anyone an inch of space in the Chelsea team, and at the moment that's paying off for them.
Baltimore gets Chelsea upfield. She scored 5 times in all competitions this season, the French international. Thompson commits a foul in the end.
Not sure there was too much in it, but there was a big scream from Thibault, who won the free kick. Maybe that swung the referee, but Leicester won't be complaining.
Worked out to Thompson. Neville again snaps into the challenge. Nodded down by Carpenter. A not so subtle foul on Emily van Egmond. Julie Thibault hangs it forward. Lehmann does hold on to it. Mouchon can't drive through. Do you think Chelsea tactically are a little bit more settled than they were in the earlier parts of the season?
Yeah, I think so. I think Bonpastor toyed with a back 3, a back 5 a couple of times, and for me, in the games that I watched, they didn't really look too comfortable in that. I think it took too much away from the top end of the pitch where they're so effective usually. I think it left the likes of Alyssa Thompson a little bit isolated, you know, and at times this season they haven't had that focal point up top, and perhaps that was a way around it, is to try and play a bit deeper and have your ball players in there. But I don't think enough has been made of the fact that Maya Ramirez has missed the entire season. I think she's a fantastic player, offers something completely different to the other forwards. Aggie Beaver-Jones as well is more of an out-and-out number 9, and they've not had enough of her on the pitch either. And I think that's hurt Chelsea.
Well, shone with the effort, trying to hurt Chelsea here. Again, they did well to win that. Do you think enough's been made of the fact that Maya Ramirez has essentially missed the season?
No, I haven't heard enough people talk about it at all, but for me, she's a player that drives the team forward when she plays.
I think I'm Chelsea, and the shot is a rather tame one in the end from Beaver-Jones.
Yeah, I think Ramirez makes intelligent runs. She can obviously finish. She's strong, she's powerful, she draws defenders to her, and then that can allow space to open up for the likes of the Lauren Jameses of the world. You know, whereas the games where she's had to play Alyssa Thompson as a number 9, she's a fantastic little player, but for me, that's not her role. That's not where you're going to get the best out of her. You want her on the outside, running in behind, not coming in and be surrounded by 2 defenders and probably a holding midfielder. That's not where you're going to get the best out of her. And I think Maya Ramirez missing and not being an option, along with the fact that Sam Kerr, Aggie Beaver-Jones and players like that have also not been available enough, has really hurt the way that they play.
Well, Baltimore is trying to get the shot away, can't get the angle, and in the end hangs up a cross that's retrieved by Thompson. Dangerous ball from Nuskin. Leicester defend it. Berman will go back. So there are reports that Chelsea are in the market for another striker linked with Bunny Shaw. Some saying she's been offered a £1 million a year contract offer.
Listen, I can see why. She's a phenomenal player, you know, and has played a big part in probably winning the Barclays Women's Super League for Manchester City. You can see why Chelsea would be in the market for a player like that. Sam Kerr's future is a little bit up in the air. We're not sure if she's going to stay beyond this season. Aggie Beaver-Jones can't stay fit. Maya Ramirez looks like she might be off as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're in the market for her, but I would be surprised if Manchester City are going to let her go that easily.
The scoring goals, getting shots away without her for now. 13 attempts so far, although Leicester have racked up some themselves and look more threatening since the restart. Here's young Lexi Potter, who scored on her first start recently against Brighton in the league.
Yeah, good young player, Lexi Potter. Had a couple of years learning her trade. Out on loan at Crystal Palace, did really well there, and to be kept in a squad full of this sort of talent shows how much Chelsea value her. And she's played quite a lot of football in recent weeks as well, stepping in to cover for injuries or just, you know, rotate the squad. Obviously really trusts her in the centre of the pitch, a really important part of the game as well. And you expect her to just go on and flourish.
Come up against her former club next season because of Crystal Palace's promotion yesterday, that comfortable 6-goal win over Portsmouth. Birmingham beating Charlton at the Valley to pit them to top, sending Charlton into that playoff that will see them face Leicester. Expansion of the league to 14 teams next season, meaning we've got a different situation for promotion and relegation. Baltimore weaving brilliantly, sees her shot blocked and then commits a foul, and along with the additional pressure higher up the pitch, I feel Leicester are defending better in this second half.
Yeah, they are. They're not allowing players just to waltz past them. Baltimore gets past Swaby there, but Mailing this time watches the ball. Fantastic block, and then just gets herself in between the ball and Baltimore and draws the foul. Much better when you compare that to the effort against Niamh Charles in the first half that led to the goal. A lot stronger, a lot more resilient, and a lot more belief about them in the second half.
Pressure from Aggie Beaver-Jones forces Surrey Keys to put that out of play. Chelsea have scored 4 in each of their last 2 league games. They're looking to repeat that now with Carpenter. On her own. Bronze. Keane commits, and there he is again to pluck it out of the air.
Really convincing, commanding goalkeeping there from Keane. She's not the biggest, but she's certainly putting herself about, and that's the biggest thing for a goalkeeper, particularly the young goalkeepers. Once you've made a decision, stick with it. It might not always come off, but it's the hesitancy that often catches you out. But she's been really effective in coming and dealing with crosses today. And okay, it wasn't a clean catch, but she was so commanding. She had time then to regain the ball as it dropped to her feet. I've been impressed by her so far.
But Passmore has spoken about her mentality as being one of the strengths of her game. Nina Leitzig out injured at the moment, along with Olivia Clark, who had to be convinced to come off after picking up a head injury at Arsenal. Baltimore's delivery, and Chelsea will get another go at that one. A couple of runners at the near post, including Philip Berman.
Yeah, looks like they're loading that near post area, Chelsea.
Deeper delivery this time. Keane gets a big hand to it under real pressure from Buchanan.
Again, really good from the young goalkeeper. And you can tell, you know, you say Rick Passmore talks about her mentality. She's not afraid to talk to her defenders who, you know, have got a lot more experience than her, but she's not afraid to say what she thinks and organise her defence. And as I said, come out and command her area.
Is it odd in the latter part of your career when you do have someone who's 19 on your team shouting at you?
It can be, but that's what you want. You want them to take responsibility. It's part of the game. It's part of learning how to be a leader. But you can tell quite early on in a player's development if they've got that in them. You know, if they're going to come into a senior environment and start, you know, not being disrespectful or saying things out of hand, but just knowing in themselves that they can read a game, they can see what's happening, and trust in themselves that they're giving good information in the right way. It's a really difficult thing to have at a young age. So if a player's got that, absolutely you try and harness it.
Carpenter kind of threw herself to the ground. Summer signing from Lyon, where she had so much success, including in the Champions League, playing for Sonia Bonpasta. Jutta Rantala is coming on shortly for Leicester City, the Finland international. And shuffled away by Case.
It's been a strange sort of second half, really. I think Rick Passmore will be the happier of the two at the moment, as things are, with the second half at least.
Oh, it was a wild challenge from Neville and Thompson. Well, implying that the contact was high. The card is only yellow. It's not the first time that Ashley Neville has stumped into a challenge since coming on.
Yeah, that's what she's about, you know, strong tackles. It's what makes her the player she is. Sometimes if you get that wrong, it can be quite dangerous, and straight away Alyssa Thompson let us know that that was a painful one. She's lucky.
Yeah.
She's really lucky, A, that she's not seen a red card for that, and B, hopefully Alyssa Thompson's foot wasn't planted. For me, that's a red card, and if I'm honest, the assistant referee's got to see that and help the referee out. I'm not sure Ashley Neville holding her hands out complaining that that's not a foul. Not sure where she's coming from with that one. That's she's lucky that Alyssa Thompson's got up from that.
I think that's the relief here, isn't it? Thompson okay, a week before the Cup semi-final. She's in the penalty area. Let's see how she plays over the next few minutes. Baltimore did whip it into the direction of a couple of Chelsea teammates. Potter will go and collect. You suspected it was high from Thompson's reaction, in a way.
Yeah, Thompson's reaction and her teammates as well, to be honest with you. And listen, I don't want to see anybody sent off. You know, you don't want to see teams go down to 10. And I don't think there was any intent in that from Ashley Neville. I don't think anyone would admit to being that sort of player, but it was very, very high. Yeah, that's a potential leg breaker or a knee wrecker. If Alyssa Thompson's foot is on the floor and planted, there's all sorts of trouble there. So again, we're thankful that she's been able to get up from that, and Ashley Neville's very, very thankful, I should imagine. And when she sees that back, I think she'll be pleased that she's got away with without a red card there.
So on comes Jutta Rantala, the Finland international, who has scored in cup competition this season. And she replaces Van Egmond in the Leicester midfield. Thompson, who does seem to be okay. Lexi Potter. Luskin, Carpenter. Chelsea throw in, 12 minutes to play. She haven't created too much in the way of proper chances since Lauren James came off at half-time. Mouchon just managed to get through Potter. Entirely sure who the intended recipient was.
I'm not sure Sarah Mailing was too grateful for that pass there. Trying to get up from right back.
Beaver-Jones, excellent switch of the play. Leicester looks stretched here. Thompson running. Carpenter decided not to join her there from right back. Left her to it. And the shot is clean and kept out by Keane. Berman with the effort. Good stop for the Irish goalkeeper again. Buchanan. Carpenter beyond Neville and just about hooked away.
You wonder if Chelsea will start trying to target Ashley Neville now she's on a yellow card. They know she can't touch her. Not so much about trying to get her a red card, more about trying to take advantage of the fact that Neville will know she can't make a challenge, because if she gets it wrong, she knows she will be off. Only Carpenter just doing that. Drives it across, and it's a good leave by Aggie Beaver-Jones, but unfortunately for her, it was a Leicester defender in the way of the dummy.
Potter, Luskin. Berman, who had that shot moments ago, hangs up the cross, but it's beyond everybody. She scored a screamer to win the FA Cup tie against Spurs recently from that kind of position. Katie Keane was in the way to keep the score at 3-1.
Yeah, it was a decent effort, and again, Katie Keane a match for it. And she'll be staking a claim to become, you know, first or second choice goalkeeper in this Leicester side as she goes through her development. She's certainly not done too badly in her first couple of outings.
Lauren James getting the second half rest ahead of facing Man City next weekend. No league fixtures in the Barclays WSL next weekend because of the FA Cup semi-finals. And then final day, a couple of weeks away. The season's whizzed by. to this point.
Yeah, you get to Christmas and you think you've still got a bit of a slog to go, and all of a sudden you find yourself in May. Everything on the line in terms of titles and what have you. It goes by in a flash.
End of season club dues coming up as well, Helen.
Indeed. R1 tonight, I'll be on my best behaviour. Made my speech already. All good to go.
An excellent season for Watford. Carpenter shifts it on. A nice play from Leicester. And cut out by Bronze. Potter. Well, last season was the 6th league title in a row for Chelsea. Big shoes to fill, of course, for Sonia Bonpasta, and she did it in excellent style. The deflected effort from Nuskin has ended up on the roof of the net, so Chelsea corner.
That's the difference between the first half and the second. In the first half, Lauren James is afforded all the time in the world at the edge of the box. Doesn't get closed down and sticks it in the far corner. This time Nuskin's got the ball, but didn't quite see who it was. The Leicester player's out there and deflects it to safety.
Baltimore, well, there's a big group of them around the back, well headed away. Julie Thibault, who was there again. Buchanan. Bouchon with the challenge on Khadisha Buchanan, who did start the League Cup final win over Manchester United on her comeback tour from injury. 469 days out after her ACL injury.
Yeah, it's a long, long time, and I mean, I'm not one to question a club like Chelsea, but it seems that, you know, Buchanan and Kerr in particular have had a very, very long spell out with ACL injuries, which is obviously a difficult injury to overcome. You do wonder why it takes so long for some players to come back, but it's great to see both of them back on the pitch.
Kerr was out for 20 months before her return early in the season. Well, it's across the face of goal. Baltimore steers it towards goal, and it's Ash Neville who was there to keep it from going beyond the goal line. Lehmann said she feels back at home in the Barclays WSL after her time in Italy with Como and Juventus. Part of the experienced recruitment drive that Leicester had in the winter window. It's loose. And Leicester pounce upon the fan. Mouchon just didn't seem fully aware that Berman was going to breathe down her neck like that.
Yeah, just needed to get her body in between Berman and the ball, but as you said, didn't see her coming. Tried to allow the ball to roll across her body, but you're not going to get away with that against the quality that Chelsea have in their back line.
Shuffled back by Berman. Well, Leicester have never beaten Chelsea in the Barclays WSL, and that record will surely stand. 9 meetings at this level, 8 wins for Chelsea, 1 draw, and that was the game here last season. The first match saw Chelsea drop points, as Sonia Bonpasta pointed to in her pre-match interview, and they only beat Leicester 1-0 earlier on this season. Tierney. Up by Buchanan. Baltimore slips it forward. She gets back onto that. Step over, shot! Oh, and so close to Chelsea's 4th goal of the match.
I'm not sure how that's not gotten in. It's a fantastic run in the first place from Baltimore. A couple of little shimmies. Absolutely leathers it with that left foot of hers. Maybe a little bit of placement was needed, but I thought that was going to nestle into the back of the net. Not to be for Baltimore on this occasion.
Well, we've been told that the Barclays player of the match is one of the players that came off at half-time. Lauren James wins the award for Chelsea. And a change for Leicester as they bring on the veteran striker Rachel Williams, who was signed, well, 3-4 months ago now from Manchester United. There she is, the player of the match. An excellent first half showing from Lauren James.
Yeah, I don't think there can be too many complaints about that one. I think she was excellent. Obviously 2 moments of absolute genius from her. A little bit of skill and just bends it into the corner, and then the free kick. You could watch it over and over again. Absolutely sensational from her and well deserved.
Into midfield, 1-1 back. Tyler's getting stuck into things for Leicester since coming on. So on the horizon for these two teams, Chelsea face Manchester City in the FA Cup semi-finals. They have home advantage for that semi-final. It's at Stamford Bridge, and then they're back at Stamford Bridge the week after for a game we all thought was going to be a Champions League playoff with Manchester United. United technically not out of the running for top 3 because they're only 1 point behind Arsenal, but they need Arsenal to essentially lose all their remaining games.
Yeah, I can't see that happening. Arsenal are in a decent run of form. Okay, disappointing for them to go out of the Champions League over the weekend in that defeat to Lyon.
Thompson still going. Just giving it straight back to Leicester City, and it's hurried away. No doubt he'll stress the positives of this second half performance.
Absolutely, and that will be his message not only to the press after the game, but to his players in the dressing room of look what you can do when you go and apply yourselves.
Thompson, oh, it's a wonderful ball. Nushkin! Oh, and there's Katie Keane again. Chelsea just can't get that 4th goal. Leicester have stood firm in this second half.
Yeah, they have, and whether there's a little bit of fortune about this save or not, it's the fortune that Katie Keane deserves. To be fair, that's a reflex that good goalkeepers have, to be honest. She's thrown her left hand up and it's gone over the bar, and yeah, she deserves that little bit of, I'm not going to call it luck because I think that's a decent save, but it could have gone anywhere.
It's directed back towards goal by Potter, and it will recycle to Beaver Jones. And there's an issue, a player down. 5 added minutes, I should say, as Chantal Swaby needs some treatment. Next up for Leicester, a trip to Goodison Park on final weekend to take on Everton. Just caught Swaby awkwardly.
Yeah, straight into the midriff there. It's a sore one, takes the breath away for a second. Not what you want.
Sonia Bompasta said she wanted her players to approach this game with the right mentality, even though they likely knew they'd come here and win. Do you think they've done that today, Helen?
I think for the most part, I think she'll be disappointed perhaps with the second half a little bit more. Hasn't been quite as much urgency, but when you make a couple of changes at half-time, that sometimes can affect the momentum. I think at times in the first 25, 30 minutes it was too easy and players got a little bit too comfortable and a little bit too complacent. And then that sort of fed into the second half, where Leicester have come out a different side almost. Okay, they haven't really had too many threats going forward, but defensively they've been much more resolute and given themselves a little bit of hope and a bit of a platform to build on. But look, they've come here for the points. They've scored 3 good goals, so she'll be pleased with that, and she'll know that there's going to be a couple of harder tests to come in the last couple of games of the season.
Referee's going to pull that back for the foul on Thompson, so Chelsea looking to whip this in. We'll be hoping for a start in their FA Cup semi-final. Buchanan quickly onto Carpenter, and the referee said, not so fast. Orders Chelsea to take it again. Baltimore in, to go up. And Lucy Bronze, who was at fault for Leicester's goal with that wayward back pass. But a couple of veterans of Barclays WSL football sees Rachel Williams come out on top and smiling.
Yeah, a lot of appearances between the pair of them at the highest level in this country.
Leicester will use the Everton game, in theory, for momentum into the playoff with Charlton. Odd for Charlton as well, kind of the way the scheduling's gone. They won't play for 3 weeks prior to that huge game.
Yeah, and that's difficult for them. And because the other leagues have finished and the WSL is still going on, they're not likely to get any game time in there, you know, in terms of friendlies.
Would you be thinking of trying to find something?
Personally, I would, because it's difficult to go that long without a game, particularly if your opposition have been playing. You know, it gives a chance for any players that may be nursing a couple of knocks or whatever, a bit more time to be ready for it and be fresh, but there's a fine balance between being fresh and being rusty. So it's up to them to do that. I'm sure they'll have some in-house stuff. They'll be training as normal and trying to maintain that sort of readiness, I suppose, for a game. And at the end of a long season, I expect the players are probably desperate for a bit of time off, but they know they've got a massive game to prepare for, which, you know, is the end of what has been a really good season for the most part for them. It's just not quite ended in the way they would have hoped originally. Saying that, if you'd have offered Charlton a playoff place at the start of the season, I think they would have snapped your hands off. So there's so many different ways you can look at it.
Buchanan's down at the moment for Chelsea. In fact, she looks like she just lost her boot for the moment. Your thoughts on what we've seen so far?
This afternoon?
This afternoon,
Forgive me, yes,
sorry. Today.
Yeah, I think it's been an odd sort of game. I think Chelsea came here, it looked like it could have been 5, 6, 7 if they wanted it to be in that first half. But Rick Passmore's organised his team well. He's brought the character of his players out in the second half. They've made life a lot more difficult for Chelsea. OK, Chelsea have made a couple of changes, both before the game and during it. And that sometimes can impact the momentum of a game. But, yeah, it's not an unexpected result. Both sides will see positives and both sides will see things they'll want to do better. So, yeah, I'm not quite sure who's going to be particularly happy, or it's just kind of been one of those games that's come and gone, really.
We've had the 5 additional, and Chelsea are trying to use what remaining seconds are left in the eyes of the referee as Baltimore cuts inside. There are runners. And that's the full-time whistle on a day where Chelsea have qualified for the UEFA Women's Champions League again. Sonia Bompasta's side were completely on top in the first half, but Rick Passmore's players showed up in the second half. Sam Kerr with the opener to write herself into Chelsea history as their top scorer in Barclays WSL football. 2 wonder goals from Lauren James had them cruising. A goal back before half-time from Shannon O'Brien gave Leicester the lift they needed, and they did have chances, but it finishes at the King Power Stadium. Leicester City 1, Chelsea 3.